which is always good to see. Damn it, there's a freaking fly. Hey guys, it's Lita. I hope you're all amazing, and if you are not, I hope my video puts a smile on your beautiful faces and makes you laugh. I hope you guys enjoyed the last video I did, which was covering what I watched in September, and from the comments that some people have left, and I thank you for leaving a comment. It seems you guys really enjoyed listening to what I've been watching and that. I'm hoping I will be able to do one for September and October of all the manga that I've been reading, or I am currently reading. So I would like to do one of those for towards the end of, or maybe after October. Maybe I'll bring it out in like the first week of November. That's the plan for a video. But in this video, which I mentioned that this is one I've wanted to do for a very long time, and I feel I've not accomplished this goal since I started actually doing more on these face-on video kind of things. I know I recently noticed that there's a few new peeps to the channel, I noticed, so I would like to say also welcome. That my main interest in anime is obscure, rare anime, and I feel for maybe the past year or so I've not watched enough of those kind of anime. It's been very, very up and down with all my anime watching and that. You guys may have seen around on YouTube, I even did like a little research. I watched maybe a few videos of all these, you know, top 10 underrated animes, underlooked ones, like rare ones. Most of them that I watched were just basically clips of the anime and probably like music. Most of them which sometimes I do find a bit uninteresting because no one's really actually talking about the series. And so I don't know what I'm gonna do with this idea that I have talking about like rare obscure animes, but I'm going to be giving you guys only three rare animes that I feel that no one really talks about. I've seen the odd review of them, the series I'll be addressing in this video. These ones I'll be talking about are personal ones that I do own in my collection. So that should give you an insight, guys, and that I actually do like these series, because when I buy anime, I only like to buy anime that I know I'm going to rewatch. I didn't want to do like a top 10 or a top 5 because the video firstly would end up being so long. I consider these shows that when I watched them to be a breath of fresh air. They were very different. But they sort of do all have one thing in common, that they post-apocalyptic kind of end of world thing, but they do sort of have that trait in common, but they're very different in terms of like genre and everything. So without further ado, I'm hoping that I can bring you something different to eat, intrigue you, and yes, let's get on with. So the very first one I'm going to talk about is one that I still had mixed feelings about, but at the same time I really enjoyed it, and I got this anime a couple of years ago in a Madman sale, which is in a video somewhere on this channel. Very cheap, and it was a blind buy. I knew nothing about it, so sometimes blind buys can be a good thing or a hit or a miss. They can. So that series is Shangri-La. So I'll just show you guys the cover. Now this show is 24 episodes long. It is sci-fi, mostly sci-fi genre considered. It's from 2009, so it's not like that old. At least 10 years, 11 years old. And it is by Studio Gonzo. You know, like where the bit, like whenever you're watching a Gonzo show, if it's on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, and then like when the disc starts playing and then it goes Gonzo when like their little advert thing comes up. I don't know why, that kind of makes me feel like someone's got something jammed in their throat when they're saying that, like Gonzo. ShangriLa is actually now to me considered one of my favourite shows by Studio Gonzo. That next to origin, the spirits of the past. But Shangri-La is set in a apocalyptic world. So the whole world has, you know, gone a rut. You know, it's hard to survive. And within Japan and Tokyo, there's a massive earthquake, and that shifted the world into this sort of jungle-like world where the whole air in the place is polluted with carbon dioxide. And the economic market was about to have a downfall when the government decided to transfer the global market by trading with carbon. The idea of this was to reduce the carbon dioxide that was polluting the air. So that was a very interesting part of the plot to learn about. And so because it is, you know, nobody wants to live outside, otherwise you're just going to die, basically. There are a lot of refugees outside of this potential project that's being built called Project Atlas. But the problem with that this is going to be like a reborn Tokyo, the problem with it is it can only house so many people in it. The show focuses on this group of particular refugees that sort of wage a war or a rebellion against the government who are running this Project Atlas, because they want to know why only so many people are actually allowed into the place, or if they're allowed. And the full focus is on this boomerang swinging girl, Kuniko, which she's a total freaking firecracker. And yeah, it just focuses on the efforts of her. She's only like about 15, 16 in this show. And yeah, it just focuses on, you know, finding out the secrets. So first, initially watching this show, when I got into episode 6, I was still not into the show. I was giving it a go with all my might. I was nearly about to feel like dropping it, honestly. But after episode 7, the show got intriguingly interesting. Very interesting. And yeah, this is one of these shows for me where I started really not liking it, nearly hating it. And then by the end of it, I ended up loving it. Even though I still feel the ending was kind of weird and didn't really, sort of was conclusive enough for me, I guess. But the first great thing about Shangri-La is the plot. It is so interesting, as I said, that how the global economy market actually trades with carbon dioxide. And there's a lot of cyber computer technology stuff that goes on. It was simple enough for just me to grasp the idea of what was going on. But yeah, this show has a lot of technical complication in a way, but that is one of the very standout things I loved about Shangri-La, was the concept of the plot. And the second thing was also the animation. Obviously, Studio Gonza. They captured the real sci-fi, this post-apocalyptic world, giving like a jungle vibe. Everything's covered in, like, you know, vines, trees. It's really pretty to look at, and yeah, the animation was definitely up to scratch. I just love the setting of the backgrounds and everything. It just looked really great, and it really fitted in with what the show is about. Shangri-La, definitely a breath of fresh air. That's what it was to me. I even wrote it in my review that I wrote on my blog. It was a breath of fresh air, it was. That is what I would consider it to be. And I just love the main protagonist, Kuniko. She's a little firecracker, I tell you. She just knows how to stir everybody up, and she didn't back down for like a second. And I loved her other little compadre sidekick, which was Momoko. She was like a motherly kind of figure to Kuniko. Momo was a transgender. I didn't pick up on that until like probably episode 2. I didn't, but she's so funny. Very, very flamboyant personality. Very funny. And the show you probably will get a little maybe weirded out by, because there are some interesting characters that are just like, you question like kind of what are you, in a way. We get a lot of post-apocalyptic kind of end of world plots, we do. I could name so many right now, but the next 2 I'm going to be talking about are kind of related to that. But yeah, this is very different indeed. So if you're really truly looking for something very different and you like your sci-fi, then I recommend giving Shangri-La a go, even though it has its flaws and I still have issues with the show. The plot and everything I just stated was enough to still make me enjoy the show. The next show that I will be talking about was A Complete Blind Buy, and this is definitely considered a very, very unknown show. I actually don't know the origin of the story, honestly. It doesn't say it's from a manga, it doesn't say it's from a light novel. I believe this is an original work when I was doing some research for it. This is by Studio, but yes, this was a very, I guess, unexpected show that I would enjoy. But the main thing about it is that I bought it is because it was to do with mecha. So we know how much I love my mecha on this show. This show is Innocent Venus, and just by looking at the cover, which is that the cover honestly intrigued me as well. So this is again another post-apocalyptic kind of thing. Well, I guess it's end of world. When I say post-apocalyptic, I don't mean like zombies. I just mean it's kind of like end of the world it is. So this show is 13 episodes. It's considered a drama mech show. And it is by, again, as I said, Studio Brainspace. Main story is about these two guys here. This is Joe and this is Jin. These two used to work for an organization called Logos, but they ended up leaving because they were, up to something, as usually the bad guys are. They end up abducting this girl named Sana, this young girl who has these special abilities that is the key to saving the world. But, obviously Logos wants her for their own purposes. So she's considered a special individual. And they end up being on the run from Logos, and that's the basic plot. Now, the first thing that surprised me about this show was how much gore is in this. Like, this is like, at times you could get a bloody mess. It was still pretty gory, it was, in like all the mech battles and stuff. And another thing is like the animation I want to point out. There is a few points in the series where 3D animation is used. It's called cell shadowing, where they make things appear more flat and sort of bold, which means they kind of stand out more, and that's what they used on the mechs in this show. I absolutely love the mechs in this show. Very interesting. If you watch episode 1, you're going to be left with a lot of questions, which I was. I was kind of lost in what was going on. Like, every time Joe got out of piloting his mech, he would be crying. Eventually you learn why, but at the time I was like, why are you crying, dude? I was like, is it because he just killed people? But no, there's a more serious reason for that, trust me. But this show, honestly, like, I think like halfway through, I'm not going to spoil too much it for anybody who ends up deciding if they want to watch this. It definitely just took a massive turn. It's there's only so much that it takes to shock me, and I was like shocked. I was like kind of like one of those kind of like reactions. It's an engaging show, and along with all like the plot, all very, very twisted. In terms of like the characters and stuff, I want to say like they're kind of generic. They fitted in well within the plot, nothing like too standout-ish. But I mostly enjoyed it for like the mech battles and the plot. Of how the show ended, yeah, I didn't like how the show ended too much from memory. I know I was left a bit unsatisfied, but at times it could get a bit psychological as well. Not as psychological as like Neo Evangelion, no. There was just enough psychological, just kind of like mess with your head. So this was a very interesting watch, I definitely will say. It had an engaging plot. The mech battles were entertaining to watch, and it was just something, again, different to see, honestly. Even though you feel like what the plot I just described was, kind of generic, but at the same time, it was different. If you like mechs and some psychological and a bit of gore, then definitely should give Innocent Venus a go, because definitely the show is not innocent. Why would they put that in the title? It is so not innocent, trust me. And the third and final breath of fresh air that I'm gonna talk about here is a very old show that I've probably rewatched like maybe 7 times. Yeah, at least more than 7 times. It focuses more on how humanity started to do with kind of like life and death, but it's done in a cutesy way, is the best I can describe it. And definitely this show is very unheard of. I have yet to review it like on my blog and stuff, but that is This Ugly Yet Beautiful World, and definitely this title makes a lot of sense to do with what the plot is to do with. This show is 12 episodes long. This show is a romance sci-fi, and it's by Studio Gainax, which aren't around so much now, which is sad. The main plot of this show is about 2 guys, Takeru and Ryo. One night they end up following this strange light on their way home, and this light forms into a girl known as Hikari, which is her here. And this is Takeru, by the way. And they don't know where she's come. They know she comes from some sort of alien origin. Ryo comes across a girl named Akira. And the series follows these 2 girls finding about their alien origins, where they're from, and just following their daily life, and it comes to this drawing conclusion. I first picked up this series when I first visited my favourite anime store of all time, which is in my local city. There are a few issues with this show. Sometimes it can do with the animations. It can do with, I guess, like all the love triangle stuff that happens. That I find sometimes one of the main boy protagonists, Takeru, can be completely hopeless. What I like about this show, it kind of explores, as I said, about kind of like life and death and how the world came to be. It does it in a really interesting way. That's why, like, every time it just draws to the end of the show, around like episode between 10 and 12, I would say, is when like I'm just like, oh, all this nice cutesiness is gonna just go blow out of the water. A lot of unexplainable things that happen in the show, like Takeru ends up transforming into this monster. He doesn't even know why, but Takeru's got a lot of issues. Hikari, honestly, is, guess, just something to look at in a cute way. She's just cute, basically. She doesn't really have like that much personality, you know, she has amnesia. She has no idea of who she is, honestly, and it is kind of about self-discovery in a way, and a lot of people come to terms with their conflicted feelings or problems that they have going on. Yeah, this show at times can get into a bit of a mess. I would consider this to be a bit of a mess of a show. There's quite a few things going on. Somehow they all tangle into one, and somehow I end up being happy with the ending anyway, and I come back to revisiting this show for some strange reason. But I really still enjoy this show, and I still continue to enjoy it every time I watch it. But yeah, so if you're looking for something that's has got the romance factor in here, is definitely half of the plot. So, and also to do the sci-fi element, you know, to with aliens, where they're from, end of the world, life, death. It's done, I guess, in an interesting way. This show is from like the 2000s, 2001. So I don't think you'll regret watching this show. So you should give This Ugly Yet Beautiful World, because that's true. This world can be ugly and yet beautiful at the same time. Those 3 shows that I consider to be breath of fresh airs, I hope maybe you'll give a go. Maybe I hope I have piqued your interest. And please, please, please comment down below if you would like me to do another video like this, because I'm going to anyway. But again, I really want to hear your opinions, especially about this. I will definitely cover, like, I guess 3 more shows. I will, in brief, in a short amount of span of time, as best I can. and that is like my real goal. I know this video is probably going to be long and chattersome. Trust me, if we were doing like a top 10 or a top 5, which I'm not fond of doing those kind of videos anymore, we'd be sitting here for like an hour, and you guys don't want to watch a video that's like an hour long, trust me. But I just feel really motivated after just doing this now. And yeah, next video will be an interesting one. It actually is going to be like a sort of tag video that I was tagged in by a fellow YouTuber friend, which I will get around to doing now. So yes, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and as always, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to keep up with my anime antics, you can follow me on my blog at Kina Anime Corner. And you can follow me on Twitter at Kina Reviews, where I am all the time. And I'll see you guys in the next video, and hopefully that won't be too long. Bye!